I think when I was maybe like in high school or middle school, I would get a lot more of like be focused on how many likes I got on a picture and things like that. But I don't think I'm very focused on that. And I also think a big part of that too is I'm not very comfortable with the idea of a lot of people having access to my life.
Why should that matter compared to, like, if I tell you you're beautiful, why does it matter if 10,000 other people said that when they don't really know all of the other aspects of who you are? All they know is that perfectly curated image that you chose to share. I like that discussion though. That was good. And like I said, I see that a lot of guys talk about that stuff, and I think that and again, I think both sides, they need to be challenged on why they see things the way that they do. Nothing to me is absolute. There's a lot of nuance. There are a fair amount of things that where you can make some general statements about men and women, but ultimately you still want to, if you care about somebody, right? Or if you genuinely are interested in somebody, you want to take the time to get to know them and find out maybe how some of those thoughts may actually apply to her or him, or maybe they don't, you know, and give it that time. But let me throw a little curveball at you. So, and you are in a relationship, so maybe this will be relevant. And also maybe friends that you may have had. So I've thought a lot about how men and women perceive themselves in real life, IRL for the young folks out there, and social media online profiles. And I think from what I've observed that this is more a woman sort of dilemma than for men, because I believe from what I've observed that men tend to get substantially less attention online than women do. What do you feel matters more? Validation from your partner, somebody that you care and that really knows more about you, or people who may follow you, subscribe to you, and like content that you post?
I'd say definitely my boyfriend.
Okay.
I personally am basically not active on social media.
Okay.
It's kind of to the point where I'm like, should I like be posting like more, because I haven't posted in like 9 months, and that's kind of
Okay.
you know, off the face of the earth. So
in social media world,
yeah, so for me, I think when I was maybe like in high school or middle school, I would get a lot more of like be focused on how many likes I got on a picture and things like that. But I don't think I'm very focused on that. And I also think a big part of that too is I'm not very comfortable with the idea of a lot of people having access to my life. And
Sure.
just because of that fact in itself, I think it's definitely a lot more from my partner or the people around me that I care about.
Okay. Have you ever heard of from other women, maybe female friends or people that you've known, that have ever discussed that being particularly difficult or challenging for them at all?
I'm not gonna lie. I don't think my friends I think the people I surround myself with aren't very into those kind of things. Like, they might post, but they post for fun.
Okay.
Like, for their own pleasure. Like, I've had friends, like, delete their whole Instagrams and make new ones because it had too many followers. Like, I think a lot of the people, if they do post, it's because they want to show parts of their life, and they're typically more creative with what they post. It's not always them. It's not always the same thing. Maybe it's what they're eating or what they're doing, or funny pictures of their friends, or just moments that they were enjoying.
Okay.
But I don't think I really know anyone who currently in my life who subscribes to the idea of, oh my god, this and this and this person slid up on my story. And like, how crazy is that? Like, I haven't heard that kind of talk in a very long time, actually. Okay. In high school I did, but I think it was at the time childish, so I couldn't really say that in a way to apply to adult relationships or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. Which it sounds like that also could be a function of you being much more intentional of who you have around you.
Probably.
Which, and again, I don't say that that's a bad thing. I actually would only hope that more women would say what you just said. That the people that genuinely know you and know a lot of the other aspects of who you are, and not just what you choose to share, which is, you know, brief snippets of our lived experience, that would matter more than strangers, to use your point earlier, online. But I've heard also that for a lot of women, it is difficult, not because they don't understand it from a logical perspective. It's because getting that validation with not really having to do much, but kind of feeling very special and feeling that people, sometimes maybe people putting you on a pedestal, maybe others just feeling like, I didn't always have this growing up, and now that I'm getting it, I don't want to let it go type deal. The reason why I bring that up and I think about that question is because, as I mentioned earlier, I know the vast majority of men are quite territorial. And so we're not going to necessarily be a huge fan of our women posting things online and then getting this flood of attention, not because it's inherently emasculating or makes us feel threatened, but because it begs the question, why does it matter? That's what I always try to boil it down to. Not sticking to the surface. Why should that matter compared to, like, if I tell you you're beautiful, why does it matter if 10,000 other people said that when they don't really know all of the other aspects of who you are? All they know is that perfectly curated image that you chose to share.
And I think that's the thing about social media that I don't really subscribe to, is it's just a picture. And I feel like, taking time, like, I think social media can be very fun, but I think it's kind of lost what it was supposed to be, and it's kind of just a way to show people what you're doing and what you're up to, maybe your outfit or a moment you have with your friends, but it's not like that anymore. Another reason I don't post on my Instagram is because I have 1,100 followers on my Instagram. I don't know 1,100 people. I've had that Instagram since, like, maybe I was in, like, 4th or 5th grade, so I've had it for such a long time.
So you were a young one in social media.
Yeah, same with, like, all of my social media, basically. Like, I just way too many people on it that I just have no clue who they are. And that's where it goes back to, like, not wanting that many people to have access to my life. I thought about making a new Instagram, and I think if I did that, I'd probably use it quite a bit more.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually think that's refreshing, especially to hear that from a 20-year-old. As a parent, that's something that I think about. Like, I want my son to not really have access to those things for a while, because I think for a lot of young people, it's hard enough to try to figure out who you are and how you see yourself. The last thing you need is, like, a comparison complex with other people who are your age, not only just in your area, but in your state, in the country, and in the world, and feeling like your life is maybe less than. So I'm very conscious of that.
That's something I kind of struggled with more when I was younger.
Yeah.
More so, just being so, like, oh my God, the picture's not good enough and whatever. I don't know. I just think it can be fun. It can be a form of expressing yourself, but for me, it's not necessary.
I agree. And I think also, again, that these are tools that can be useful. I'm certainly not anti them either. But I do think people put an overabundance of weight in, like, what it should maybe mean to them.
Yeah.
And that's why I talk about, like, the curated images, because people don't really know you. Again, they only know these select snapshots, if you will, of what you allow them to see. So I think that doesn't really offer authentic human exchange and engagement. Again, it's showing people I don't want to say perfect, but just this better sides and these better moments that don't really give a lot more context of all these different facets of who you are. And when you get to sit down with somebody, which, like, I'm doing with you and I really appreciate, I get a lot more detail than I could ever get from a caption, a hashtag, even a detailed description. Like, you've given me way more than that in just the time we've talked, as opposed to if I've maybe followed you for, like, 5 years and just going based on whatever you happen to post, during that time. I think that, to me, is being lost, because we're kind of, maybe we're in our mind, I don't know if this is true, this is just me thinking out loud, that we're sort of substituting those online relationships or possible connections, I put in quotation marks, with this actual exchange and what that looks like and how that sounds, and actually being able to relate to somebody in the most authentic way. I think we're missing a lot of that because we have this abundance of technology that we think that that's like a one-for-one substitute. And I really believe that that's not true.
I agree.
So, again, I'm not anti-social media. I'm just trying to make the point and impress the point that I think we need to talk to each other more in real ways. We learn more, we connect more, we appreciate each other, I think, vastly more, and we don't demonize the other because we really see that there's a lot more in common, perhaps, than what we we allow others to